What's up everybody, Ian here. Next part in our rotator cuff series. Today we are talking about that principle that we outlined in part one, where we talked about strength training in your available range of motion. There's often two camps in this category where it's just forget about your mobility, just lift, it'll all work itself out. I find that these people that are missing the range of motion that they're training in are often injured, living through chronic pain, just saying that's part of training. Spoiler alert, it's not. And then there's also the other side of the camp that basically says, hey, only work on your mobility, don't strength train, and we could not disagree with that more. If you're familiar with our course, Mobility Coach Plus, that's one of the main principles, learning how to integrate mobility and strength together. That's exactly what we're about to show you here. So now let's talk about the specific context. This person in this video that we're talking about is basically not able to get overhead without their ribs, a shrug, them just cheating the motion altogether to get back there. But what they can do is they can get about halfway between overhead and 90 degrees without any of those compensations. So instead of just telling them to stay at 90 degrees forever, we're gonna start working on their strength here, which will in turn get them closer to getting overhead as they also do those other things that we are always talking about to improve their mobility. So the first thing that we're gonna go over is a pull, the second thing that we're gonna go over is a push, and then we're also going to show you another shoulder rotation exercise that builds off of the ones that we've showed you before with the cable. That can be a staple in your program for quite literally forever. So let's go ahead and get into the pull. You're gonna need a cable. We're gonna set it up just like this, where the cable is not the highest setting, but it's pretty close to the top. No matter where it is, you're gonna set it up so it's diagonally out in front of you. We could just sit down, get into a half kneel position and just have it straight forward, but we're gonna add a little bit of spice on this one by having you actually turn your body towards it while this arm stays here. Quite literally turning my chest towards the arm. You should feel that increase the stretch through your lat and the middle of your back. Now, very important, the person that is struggling with this might be like this. That's a clear sign that A, your form's off, or B, you just don't have this range of motion. Maybe you need to stay around 90 for a while. You're a little bit more limited than you thought. So try to think about not keeping your shoulder blade down, but reaching it around the rib cage forward and then up versus up then forward. So you get that good reach, your turn towards it. We're gonna take a breath here. Exhale, pull. Don't worry about your shoulder blade, just pull your elbow down to your side. In the ideal world, you're gonna see this cable lines up really well with my elbow. You can move forward or back if it doesn't. And then on the way up, we're gonna get about 3 to 5 seconds inhaling, controlling this scoop. Imagine the arrow is going forward and up. Exhale. Pull down to your side. You should feel a very intense lat contraction right here, basically in line with that elbow. Notice I'm not trying to pull really far behind me, and I'm really trying to keep my chest squared towards that arm. And then as I come up, I slowly let go of that lat as it opens up and stretches, inhaling so that it expands from within, and then exhale, pull straight down. I don't need to turn my hand over. I actually think you're gonna get more out of it keeping it neutral the whole entire time. And that's exactly how we're gonna do that pull from that angle. Again, just to reiterate, remember, it's not 90 degrees, it's not overhead, it's in between, which is gonna be very, very good for improving your overhead mobility and getting you to that next level of shoulder flexion while still getting really strong and looking good in the meantime. So let's go ahead and get into the press next. All right, getting into the landmine press. So a few things about the setup. Start off with the lighter barbell, do it really well, then add weight onto it, then use the heavier barbell. Usually there's a 35 and a 45 in the gym. You don't necessarily even need anything but the barbell. If you just put it in the corner of a room, it works really great, even though you can obviously get one of these little attachments anywhere. Third, this attachment right here makes it way thinner than the barbell, which takes away grip strength. Doesn't make it that big of a factor. And you can also grab the ball just to have like a little bit of a different feel. But I do really like this attachment. Still, again, you don't need it. It's just a little cherry on top. So now we're gonna set up in a similar fashion to where I'm here in the lunge. I'm gonna take this up here and I'm gonna make sure my wrist is nice and neutral. I don't want it like this. And especially on the left side, a lot of people are gonna have a tendency when they come down to flare their elbow out because they don't have that strength of the external rotation to keep it in that good spot. So be very, very cognizant of that. I don't need to turn into it or do any of that secret spicy stuff that we did on the pull. My chin is untucked, just like this whole entire series that you're seeing for shoulder stuff. And I'm gonna go ahead and press with a really good reach. Again, my first move is not shrug, it's to scoop, reach under, and press out in front of me. I want to straighten out my arm as best I can, and I want to feel like my armpit is doing a lot of the work, along with the delts, the front of the shoulder, the tricep, all this stuff working together. If you're like, man, this is a great trap exercise, again, things are not going well. I also don't want to lean into and arch my back like this. So I almost want to think that I'm pushing my rib cage back in space. On the way down, I really love that 3 to 5 second control. It doesn't have to go super deep. If your range of motion is limited, you don't have to go down here. But if you can, own it all the way down, press that thing out. Inhale on the way down. Exhale as you press. If you want to add a little bit of alternating, you totally can. So reach, exhale. Okay, that's how we're gonna do that landmine press. Again, just to lock that point home, notice the angle. I'm not overhead, I'm not behind my ear. I'm owning that range of motion that I have. I'm getting stronger in it. Next thing you know, all of a sudden in a couple of weeks, you're like, man, my shoulder can really get back there without having to get my ribs to fake it for me, without bending my elbow and throwing my neck into it. So keep that in mind. Last but not least, let's go ahead and get into that shoulder rotation exercise we talked about. Okay, number 3, going over our shoulder rotation, keeping your range of motion, strengthening what you got. We're gonna do a classic exercise, Cuban rotation. Oftentimes people will think of this in Kinstretch and FRC as a capsule car, and we're just really loading our shoulder rotation with a dumbbell. So it's very similar to the cable exercises. You can do this with both arms. You can do this without support, with support. I'm gonna show you the different angles that you can do at. Oftentimes this is done really classic, seated with just their elbow on their knee. That's another option as well, especially if you have no equipment. I really love this one, so we're gonna go ahead and show you this way and just make you aware of all the other ways. So again, I'm gonna start off in probably the toughest position, or at least first or second toughest out of the 3 that we're gonna show you. I got a 90-degree angle. I'm not shrugging at all on the way down. So I'm gonna slowly control the way down as I go into that shoulder rotation. I'm looking for the X on my bicep to move. I'm not looking to curl my bicep. I'm not looking to extend my elbow or flick my wrist. I'm gonna go down into the end range. In this end range, what should I feel? You should feel the backside of your shoulder stretching and working. You shouldn't feel a pinch in the front of your shoulder. Nothing we showed you, you should ever feel a pinch in. Then I can go ahead and rotate all the way back. That cue of punching up and back, I really love here, because that allows me to really think about it. If I get lighter on this, I'm starting to punch up, I feel a little bit of my delt kick on while I'm still getting the backside of the shoulder really well. Now I'm slowly coming down. Again, 10 seconds is ideal. I like to think about it getting a little bit of feedback from the foam roller that's on the barbell, so it's kind of almost twisting and I can feel it under my skin. I'm getting down, say I was limited, I could just go to here, and then I can go all the way back nice and strong. Now, 2 other angles for you to consider. Halfway in between, similar to how we talked about shoulder flexion at 90 degrees, being halfway in between those. I'm turned towards it. It's not 90, so I'm not all the way towards it so it's straight out in front of me, but I'm just a little bit off of it, and I can go into that same angle and do the same thing. This is probably a very similar angle to as if you were actually doing it with your elbow on your knee. The other last angle that we'll show you is exactly this. I'm facing straight forward, reach that elbow forward as I come down, no pinching in the front of the shoulder. I get that rotation, come all the way up. For me, that's the hardest one, to be honest, or maybe it's just because we've already done so many of these today, but slow control on the way down, no shrugging, all the way back up. You should feel a crazy burn in the backside of your shoulder there. Really strengthening that full range of motion with load, gonna give you a lot more benefit there. And over time, instead of programming your whole entire shoulder program or your whole entire upper body days around a shoulder injury, you can keep this and in turn not lose range of motion and even keep pushing it and getting even better at it by simply adding 1 exercise and doing the rest of the things that we talked about. A couple of cars here and there, your shoulder's gonna be feeling amazing. You're gonna notice the strength gains. It's gonna carry over to everything. Don't forget to subscribe. If putting this all together is something that you don't wanna do and you just wanna follow our structured program that we've already put out for you, that's exactly what our shoulder mobility guide is. We'll link that below. You're able to click on it, go right to it. If you're a coach or a trainer and you're thinking, man, this is really good, I've had a lot of problems with my clients having shoulder issues, then you need to be in Mobility Coach Plus. And you should sign up yesterday and get on a call with me tomorrow. So if you have any questions about that, please let us know below, and all the links will be in the text box.